Your yard looks ordinary, maybe even a little boring, but somewhere along that fence line, under that overgrown corner, behind the shed, there's a very good chance free food is growing right now. Wild fruit, edible, delicious, and completely ignored by basically everyone. These are plants your neighbors rip out as weeds. Plants your grandparents actually knew how to eat. Today, we're counting down 10 wild fruits that might literally be growing in your yard right now, and that you had no idea you could eat. Stay until number 1, because that one genuinely stopped me. Let's get into it. Number 10. Autumn olive. Most people, including land managers, are actively trying to destroy this plant. It's officially listed as invasive across the eastern U.S. But those little speckled red berries, totally edible. And, kind of incredible, autumn olive berries contain up to 17 times more lycopene than a tomato. Lycopene is the antioxidant that makes tomatoes a superfood. This invasive weed is quietly sitting there being more nutritious than something you'd pay $6 for at a health food store. Wait until they're fully ripe, deep red, and slightly soft. Early in the season, they're very tart. Ripe ones taste like a cranberry crossed with a cherry. Make jam syrup or eat them straight off the bush. Your ID key, those silver speckled dots on the skin, nothing else looks quite like it. Number 9. Hackberry. These trees grow in parks, along streets, and at forest edges all across North America, and they get absolutely zero respect. Most people walk past them every day and have no idea those dark little berries are edible. Here's the wild part. Archaeologists have found hackberry seeds at prehistoric human settlements dating back over 8,000 years. Native American tribes dried and ground them into a paste with fat and corn, basically an ancient energy bar that kept people alive through hard winters. The berries have a date-like sweetness and a crunchy seed inside that actually tastes like a nut. They ripen September through November and actually sweeten after the first frost. Eat them off the tree or dry and grind them. They add a caramel nutty flavor to baked goods. ID key, that bizarre warty ridged bark. Once you see it, you'll always recognize it. Number 8. Staghorn sumac. And I know what some of you are thinking. Isn't sumac poisonous? One kind is, yes. But staghorn sumac is completely different, totally safe, and one of the coolest wild foods out there. Confusing these two is like being scared of every mushroom because some are toxic. Those fuzzy red cones are coated in malic acid, the same acid in sour candy. Indigenous peoples soaked these clusters in cold water to make sumacade, a natural lemonade that existed on this continent long before a lemon ever arrived here. The Middle Eastern spice called sumac, a close relative of this exact plant, soak ripe red clusters in cold water for 20 minutes, strain through cheesecloth, sweeten to taste. Do not use hot water. It turns bitter fast. Safety ID is simple. Staghorn sumac has upright red fuzzy cones. Poison sumac has drooping white or pale berries and only grows in swampy, wet areas. Completely different plant. Number 7. Spice bush. Most people step right past this one. It grows in shaded understories along stream banks in spots you'd walk through without glancing down. But here's the thing. During World War II, when spices were rationed, American homemakers used dried spice bushberries as a substitute for allspice. A backyard weed was literally a kitchen spice. Every single part of this plant is aromatic: the twigs, the leaves, the bark, the berries. Snap a twig and it smells like a spice rack exploded. The berries contain a blend of volatile oils that mimic allspice and bay leaf simultaneously. Cherokee and Lenape peoples used it as both food and medicine for centuries. Harvest the red berries in September, dry them completely, and grind them. Use them 1-to-1 as allspice in any recipe: apple pie, mulled cider, marinades. The flavor is sharper and more complex than store-bought. Bonus: the dried twigs make an incredible wild tea. Number 6. Ground cherry. You know those little papery lantern things that pop up in garden beds and you just pull them out? They're ground cherries, and they're delicious. Genuinely delicious that it can stop from your tracks. And most people have been pulling them out for years. Ground cherries are related to tomatillo's same papery husk system, but the flavor is completely different. Bite into a ripe one and you get vanilla, pineapple, and tomato all at once. They also self-seed prolifically, meaning once they show up in your yard, they come back every year, for free, forever. Leave them in their husks and they store for weeks at room temperature. Eat fresh, make jam, toss into salsa, or roast with honey. The rule: Tan papery husk, golden berry inside, means it's ready. Green berry inside a green husk, put it back. Number 5. Mulberry. There are giant mulberry trees in suburbs everywhere, dropping more fruit than they know what to do with, staining sidewalks purple, and people treat it like a nuisance. It's honestly one of the most baffling things in the foraging world. Mulberries were so important in ancient China that entire economies were built around them, not for the fruit, but because silkworms eat only mulberry leaves. The entire global silk trade depended on this tree for thousands of years. Meanwhile, the fruit itself is packed with resveratrol, the same antioxidant in red wine researchers have been studying for its potential longevity effects. For free, in your backyard, lay a sheet under the tree and shake the branches. Ripe berries fall immediately. Eat fresh, freeze them, make wine, jam, or syrup. They taste like a blackberry crossed with a fig. And wear clothes you don't care about. They stain permanently. Consider yourself warned. Number 4. The pawpaw, the largest edible fruit native to North America, tropical tasting, creamy, and wildly delicious. Almost nobody outside of foraging circles knows it exists, and it grows wild across 26 U.S. states. George Washington ate them for dessert, and it never made it to grocery stores. Here's why pawpaws never got commercialized. They ripen and go bad within 2 to 3 days. You cannot ship them. The entire food industry is built around shelf life, and the pawpaw refuses to cooperate. The only way to eat one is to find a wild tree or grow your own. Its flavor, mango, banana, and vanilla pudding, in a fruit that grows in Ohio. Ripe pawpaws smell intensely tropical and give when pressed like a soft avocado. Eat within 2 days of picking, scoop, blend, and freeze as ice cream. It's genuinely one of the best things you'll ever taste. Look for them in moist, shaded areas near rivers and stream banks. Number 3. This is the one we promised at the start. Maypop or wild passion flower grows as a common roadside weed across the southeastern U.S. And it produces actual, real, edible passion fruit. People pay $5 for a single passion fruit at specialty stores. This grows on highway roadsides for free. That extraordinary flower evolved to be pollinated by one specific bee, the carpenter bee. The structure is essentially a landing pad engineered for a single insect. Spanish missionaries in the 1500s believed the flower's structure symbolized the Passion of Christ, and that's how the entire passion fruit family got its name. Wild biology, wild history, wild fruit. Growing in a ditch near you. Wait until the fruit turns yellow and falls or comes off the vine with zero resistance. Crack it open, scoop the pulp, eat it straight or strain it into juice. It tastes exactly like commercial passion fruit, tart, floral, tropical. Don't eat unripe green ones. Let them come to you. Number 2. Rugosa rose. Most people know roses for the flowers. Almost nobody knows what happens after the flower drops. You're left with a rose hip, a plump red fruit, and it's one of the most nutritious wild foods that exists. Your grandma might have known this. Somewhere along the way, most of us forgot. During World War II, when citrus imports to Britain were cut off, the government organized a national effort to harvest wild rose hips. Children were sent to collect them from the countryside. Because one rose hip contains 20 times more vitamin C than an orange, they made millions of bottles of rose hip syrup and kept an entire nation's vitamin C levels stable with a wild fruit growing on roadsides. That is one of the most underrated food history stories ever told. Harvest after the first frost, they sweeten significantly. Cut off the blossom end, slice in half, scoop out the seeds and hairy fibers inside. Those can irritate your throat. Use the flesh for tea, jam, or syrup. Rugosa rose hips are the biggest and meatiest. Look for the extra wrinkly leaves to identify the plant. Number 1. The common persimmon. Growing wild in backyards, forest edges, and roadsides across the entire eastern half of the United States, and most people have no idea what it is. Or they've tried one unripe and sworn off it forever. Because an unripe persimmon is one of the most aggressively unpleasant things you can put in your mouth. Here's what's happening chemically. Unripe persimmons are loaded with soluble tannins that bind to proteins in your saliva and create an overwhelming drying, puckering sensation. It's a chemical defense to stop animals eating the fruit before the seeds are ready. Once ripe, fully soft, almost translucent, those tannins become insoluble. They switch off completely, and what's left is one of the sweetest, most complex wild fruits in North America. Honey, brown sugar, apricot, and warm spice all in one. The scientific name Diospyros translates from Greek as fruit of the gods, and when it's ripe, you'll understand why. Do not pick persimmons. Wait for them to fall, or wait until they're completely soft and almost translucent after hard frosts. If there's any firmness at all, put it back. Eat fresh. Make persimmon pudding, a classic Appalachian dish, or dry them whole like the Japanese hoshigaki method. They are worth every second of patience. And that's your list. 10 wild fruits that are probably growing within walking distance of where you're sitting right now. For free. Right now, completely ignored. The wild world has been feeding people for thousands of years, and it hasn't stopped. Most of us just stopped paying attention. Drop a comment below. Which of these is already in your yard? And if you found this useful, our next video covers 10 wild plants you can forage in winter, when everything looks completely dead. You'd be amazed what's still out there. It's right there. We'll see you in it.